Good evening, everyone. How are you? It's been a minute since we've seen each other in person. I want to bring the meeting to order, call the meeting to order at 6:02 p.m. And I need a motion to adopt the minutes from 11/13/24.
I move that we adopt the minutes from the 11/13/24 meeting. Thank you.
Wait, do we have quorum money? No. Oh, no.
So we have to hold that till the next.
Wait, do
Do that last time. Yeah.
we not have a quorum?
No, because.
Okay.
So, yeah, we didn't have quorum last time.
My table.
How many do you?
Okay, so just keep on.
Okay, so our agenda for the evening, we're gonna, the approval of the proposed agenda for today. Public comment, if we have any public comment, board member comments, senior staff comments, subcommittee reporting, and adjournment. Tonight is pretty cut and dry. Do we have any public comment? No? All right. Board member comments.
Hi, everyone. Happy New Year.
New Year.
Yes. But we haven't all seen each other, right? So we can still.
We can say that.
Say. All right, so want to start with just some big appreciation for Dr. Artis and Dr. Harris. Last night was the MLK Junior celebration at TJ High School. It was fantastic. I know Dr. Bell was there cheering on the MLK Steppers, which was also awesome. But the whole program was just really well done, and I think for me, just a really good reminder of why we're all here within FCPS. I mean, students are amazing. It was a great opportunity to recognize students and then also celebrate their talents that they brought to the stage. So shout out to our staff. I know there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes to make stuff like that happen. So thank you for everything that you do. And Dr. Harris also spent some time with us in this very room. Some of us were here all day looking at our budget for the next fiscal year. And so Dr. Harris did a great job of presenting the priorities and the work of the equity team and our organizational development team, and really helping our board to understand the critical nature of the work that that team is doing for all of our students. So thank you for that. And I also just want to take this opportunity to talk a little bit about the national and local climate that we are facing and hearing about. I've heard from staff and from students via staff about concerns with their personal well-being, safety for families and communities, about concerns about what might be happening locally and even within our school system for students, as we're hearing about the potential for mass deportation and the impacts of some of the policies that are being discussed at the national level. And I've also heard questions or concerns about whether this committee, the Racial Equity Committee, is still going to continue to exist and be a priority for the board. And let me assure you that it is. The committee and the work and our purpose is essential to FCPS. Equity and particularly racial equity is a priority for Frederick County Public Schools. We continue to have incidents that occur within our schools that are race-based. And the work that this committee and the community is doing is essential, and it is vital, and it is valued. So now is not the time for us to let up on the work that we're doing. It's time for us to continue to push that progress forward. So it's my goal, and I'm going to continue to be the Board of Education liaison to the Racial Equity Committee for this upcoming year. We make different committee assignments, particularly when we have new board members coming on. But this will continue to be a committee that I'm the liaison for, and so it's my goal to support you and the priorities that are established by this committee. And so given that, I know these are board member comments, but I just want to open it up to you all as a committee for feedback on what we need as a committee to continue to safely engage in the work that we are doing, and how we at FCPS can best support the work that this committee is doing. And so I'll just open it up and see if you have any feedback. And I'll also say that this isn't the only opportunity to offer that feedback. I just wanted to make sure that we acknowledge some of what we're hearing from schools and students and communities. So I will open it up and see if anybody has any feedback about what we need as a racial equity committee in this work, in this moment.
So I don't have feedback in terms of what RC is needing. I mean, I think your confirmation and the fact that this committee will continue, certainly a positive. My concern, and I've raised this to Dr. Harris as well as our chair, and so I had actually stepped back in September just because of other priorities with work and the state. And then after November, I think it was a day or two after the election, I immediately emailed Dr. Bell, asked if I was able to rejoin. I'm here now. My major concern is board members that are currently serving from 24's election, and other board members that were voted on in 23, the platforms that they have run on is really concerning. And it goes against, I think, what the values of this committee and the sheer, what this committee stands on. So that's my major concern. So, and maybe I need a little bit of education in terms of, I think it's 4 votes, but maybe I do need more education because I'm really concerned. Right now there's 2 of the 3 from last year's elections, their platforms and what they campaigned on is extremely concerning and disheartening and frightening and disgusting, and just their history. And then some of the board members from this election, same thing. So if this is the trajectory that we're headed in, I'm concerned as a citizen, I'm concerned as a parent, I'm concerned as a community member. And I had asked Dr. Bell, is there, and I don't know what the solution is, I'm just kind of throwing some things out there to see what sticks. But I think these members, the board members, need to know who we are. You know. And they may know in theory, but I think they need to see our faces, and they need to know what the work that we're trying to get after. From what I've read and like heard about when their platform, it goes against what they stand for. But I think they need to understand that if this committee will continue, that we will push back on whatever they're proposing. And if it is 4 votes, currently from my count they have 3. I don't know where the others stand. I only moved from Frederick County 3 years back. But I'm quite concerned the fact that if all they need is 1 additional vote. That's my major concern.
I hear you. So we are a 7-member board. Any vote that we take requires a majority to pass or change anything, and so you are correct in that assumption or statement. I'll offer this. I think for many Board of Education candidates, from a historical perspective, once you're elected, the campaigning should stop, right? Because once you're elected, you represent every single student within FCPS. And I think that's something that some of our newer board members are learning. I think that we as a board are trying to provide as much education about what the role of the Board of Ed is versus the role of staff within the system, superintendent, and others who are doing this work. My advice to you and to the committee would be to stay engaged, to provide that feedback, your experiences to the extent that you feel comfortable. I do think that as we continue to present this work of the committee, that we inform the board members of what that work is and what our objectives are. I can't promise where they will fall in terms of their level of agreement with that. But it's important that we continue the education. And so, you know, when there are events like the MLK celebration, when we have our upcoming April forum or whatever we're going to end up calling it, every single board member receives invitations to attend those events, which to me are the absolute best way to understand what's happening within the system, within our communities, with our students. And they can choose to attend those or not. They're not required to. But I would say, as an individual citizen, stay engaged. Email the full board when you have concerns that come up that you feel comfortable and safe sharing with the full board. And we continue this work and advocacy together. That's the most I can guarantee you at this point.
Do you think that it would be beneficial for them to, but you join because you are the liaison for REC. Like, is it beneficial because of the climate? And let's take out what platform they ran on, right? Like, let's just put that to the side. Just for the fact of, like, what is the national climate that has a trickle-down effect? And I do really want them to see these faces. Like, I really want them in this room to look at us and see us. Because I do think that sometimes when you get real FaceTime, physical FaceTime, it can help to sway a little bit. Putting aside whatever campaign you ran on, the dog whistles that were so prominent in 23, and they weren't even dog whistles last year. They were just flat out, like, this is what I'm running on. I don't know, I feel like that could help us in that direction, right? For them to attend this meeting. Not because, they're forced to, just because they're new board members. To see what are these different committees. You may not be a liaison for it, but this is the work you signed up for. This is the work that people voted for you for. So, I don't know, I feel like that could be a first step.
So Ms. Monnier is one of our board members. She happened to be in the building, and so so she came in because she wanted to sit in on this meeting. I think that we can certainly extend that opportunity to other board members. We do have to be careful about quorum, so typically when we do, any of us are doing anything that is not part of an open meeting. This is an open meeting already. We are careful about not having more than 3 of us present, and so we could certainly extend an invitation to each one of them to come and sit as part of this committee and other committees. Again, it would be an open invitation,
Right.
not something that we could compel them to do.
Has there been a presentation? When was the last time there was a presentation?
So we just had the annual.
I just missed one.
Yeah, it was was it December?
No, it was.
It's hard for me.
It may have,
So we do an annual report. Where each of the board committees comes and presents. And I think that we just had that, and it was very recently, so it must have been maybe November meeting. So that we schedule those annually, and we do try and put them in as we're having critical conversations. So the Racial Equity Committee will come and present to the full board as well.
And there's the recordings on YouTube. Personally, I like going to YouTube. I just find it easier to find the recordings from there, and I would suggest things on your Facebook to get it out to everybody, but for us, the board members, I will keep suggesting and telling them, go over here and try and come here. It's like, you know, I can't speak for everybody else, but it's important that everybody to come here and to hear what you guys have to say and present and everything, and all the everything, right? Like, trying. I mean, I have a 10 and an 8-year-old, so I think about who they're going to be in the school system coming into office. I guess that's
Is there any other feedback from the?
I mean, one of the things that I've been trying to figure out with the different groups I'm involved in the community is how do we, as this committee, leverage more of those groups to consolidate efforts? You've got RISE, you've got NAACP, you've got, I saw something about the last meeting that you guys had about the from PFLAG. Like, how do we get all of those groups working together to consolidate messaging? Because that's, sometimes I'm finding out more about what's happening in the county and the Board of Education meetings from those outside organizations than I'm finding out from people within the county, right? So that would be something, like, I don't know if there's a way to come up with a list of those groups and then recommending, like, hey, if you're not following these people on Facebook to see what they're working on, like, I know that ACLU and one of the other groups in the community has been doing virtual Know Your Rights briefings for the community, and they're planning on doing a session to our advisory council at my kids' school to our community. So they're trying to get those out, and then I think they ended up doing one virtually because they had such an interest. But trying to get those things out, how do we come up with, like, that's something this group could do? Like, hey, here are the people that have a presence in Frederick County and that you could be aware of their doing those intersectional work.
I'll investigate later and then I'll come back with questions. That.
Okay. Anything else in terms of what the Racial Equity Committee needs in terms of support or resources to be able to continue to move this work forward?
Sorry, just one more question. Yeah. So I know you confirmed RC will continue.
Yes.
But could there be a motion made in the future to say, and maybe not targeting, but maybe doing a reassessment of committees, right? Because I know there's a plethora of different committees. My concern is, you know, the playbook has been, so it doesn't come across as targeted. You know, do we just clean up a little bit under that cleanup umbrella? Like, is that a possibility? Is that feasible? And I'm not asking you to, you know, look in your magic 8-ball, but is that something that's feasible? And, like, what does that process even look like?
So I think it probably is feasible. So to place anything on a Board of Education agenda, it requires 3 members to sign off on that request, to bring anything to the floor for discussion for the board. There are some committees, like our Special Education Citizen Advisory Committee, that are required at the state level to be operated within every single school district across the state. This committee doesn't have that same level of so I'm not sure that racial equity committee exists in a specific policy within CPS. We do have an educational equity policy that we review, but theoretically the answer to your question is yes, it could come up. Because it is a committee that was established based on the priority within FCPS to make sure that we're really addressing racial equity within FCPS, and that's where the anti-racism policy, I think, really came about and evolved and then became a school district policy within FCPS. I'm not sure, aside from 3 board members deciding to put it on as an agenda item, theoretically, yes, we could as a board or in the
We need
future.
votes for that.
You would need 4 votes to be able to do so.
Free to get anything on an agenda, but that doesn't mean it'll pass, right? It's still gonna have to be a board decision.
Well, you all have my email address, and you can always email the full board. And we meet every month here as well, and so if there are additional things that come up for discussion, happy to continue having this conversation.
Thank you, President Gallagher. We truly appreciate you and your comments. Elijah Steele?
I just want to thank Dr. Harris and Dr. Arden. Sorry, I got the last name wrong. I'm not going to try that again because I might get it wrong again. I want to thank you both for the presentation of MLK last night. It was very enjoyable. I enjoyed talking to all the kids and hearing the differences that they made around the county. Regardless of receiving an award or not, I still would have showed up. So I want to thank you again because I enjoyed it. And thank you for your narration for stepping because I know that it definitely added a story to it. So thank you very much for that. And I enjoyed it a lot. So thank you for that.
I forgot to say that Elijah received one of the awards yesterday, and that was awesome. Congratulations.
Senior staff comment?
Yeah, Dr. Artis will make most of the comments tonight. Mr. Murphy is not able to be with us tonight. He had to travel on the last minute, but nonetheless, just wanted to let you all know that you'll miss tonight's meeting. And as Ms. Gallagher said, relative to the budget, he also, Mr. Murphy also, along with Dr. Gull, was presenting before the board today just about the budget relative to curriculum and instruction. And so that work is ongoing, and as Ms. Gallagher said, continue to tune in because I know the board will have some really tough discussions and decisions to make relative to the board. The governor released his proposed budget today and just further reinforce the difficulties and the challenges. So there'll be a trickle down, so we'll see. But I don't want to, I know Dr. Artis will comment further on MLK, but I don't want to minimize the impact that Elijah Steele had last night. Not only as a recipient, but he also was doing a whole lot of work in managing 70-something students who were nervous and, some of them were uneasy, and he just engaged them in such a way that calmed them down and just made them feel valued and welcome. And so that was so appreciated for our staff who are busy moving around doing other things. So thank you so much for that.
Which is amazing. Sorry, I missed it, Elijah. I was coming back from Annapolis. So, but, congratulations.
Yeah. Artis.
All right, so first I just want to thank President Gallagher for your comments today. I appreciate them. I'll just say on behalf of our office, we remain committed to racial equity. And so we are doing what we can to maintain and to improve racial equity in the school system. And even in this climate, we remain extremely committed.
Before you move to that, I also just need to comment on that. First conversation with board member Monier spoke heavily about the importance and the work of equity, and that it needs to show up in every single thing we do. So just want to share that with the committee as something that was shared unsolicited and matter-of-factly, and spent a lot of time having conversations about how equity is showing up in our work and in our curriculum, and more conversations to come with that. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you so much for bringing it up. It's very important, equity. It shows up in different ways. Racial equity, children that have housing issues and support instability, transportation, language barriers. Both my parents were disabled, one was deaf and one was blind, so that introduced different kinds of barriers for them. So education is the only thing. So yes, anyhow.
So there's been a lot happening, a lot of work that's gone in since the last time we met together. And as I'm looking over the things, I'll just kind of just talk to you about today. A word that comes to mind is community. So this racial equity work is not just Dr. Harris or even just our office. So a big part of what we do in our office is really engaging our community to do this work. And we continue to do that, and we will continue to do that. So these are just some examples of how we're kind of leading the engagement, I guess. So the first thing, since we've last met, the Hate Bias Reporting Form is now accessible on our website. The last time it was shared through Schoology with our students, and also schools individually shared it in their own way. But it has since been available on the family and students on our CPS.org website. So that is now accessible to anyone in our community that wants to report actively with this or experiences. So that is now made public. Another big event that we've had, I think since the last time we met, was our No Place for Hate Summit. So we had that on December 9th, and we had 15 schools in Frederick County participate. So we had a number of high schools, some middle schools were at that event as well. Programming for that really focused on highlighting the work that is being done in our schools on No Place for Hate communities and leadership teams. And so the students got together and they were able to kind of collaborate and talk about what they've been doing in their schools, which is No Place for Hate programming and the impact that it's made. We're able to celebrate with some of our schools, some of the very innovative ways that they had heard before that hate is not going to be accepted in the schools. And so it's a really grassroots effort by students. And so on that day in particular, the student leadership was able to stand in front of 100 and some, a lot, 100 and some people to kind of talk about what they have done in their schools to just take a stand against hate. But they also had an opportunity to do some inter-school collaboration and building and planning, and being able to connect with other schools to kind of be a synergy. Synergy to say, how can we do this thing across the community? So that day was an amazing experience for the students, but also for the adults. And these are senior comments, but I said she was there as well that day. So thank you for all of your help that day and facilitating. Do you want to add anything about this?
Honestly, it was so, as an educator, good for moments like that because it was so invigorating. It was so positive, and especially after election season, it was good to see how many kids are really dedicated to making their school. It's truly no place for hate. So, it was also just neat to watch my own students. I only had 5 there, but to watch them, they were like literally networkers, you know? I mean, they were exchanging names and numbers, and they were sharing ideas, and they're, you know, we want to do something with women more now because, you know, so it's like, it was just amazing to see not just the work that they're doing, but how much they believe in the work. And so after a rough couple weeks, it really did, I just felt better about the world because I think we're in good hands. And so thank you.
And so our schools right now, we have about, I think this is actually 17 schools doing No Place for Hate right now on FCPS. And so all of our comprehensive test and we have some other schools. And we feeder patterns are involved in feeder.
I was going to say that.
Yes.
Please make sure you say it. Like,
Yes.
yeah.
So we have some
Incredible.
feeder, people talk to feeder, they are doing the No Place for Hate as a feeder pattern, and they're just developing a plan for some feeder events, No Place for Hate, so from pre-K to 12th grade, those students will collaborate to make different space, and so, that was the summit in December, but the work continues on with the students in the schools, and supports them as much as possible, as well as support you already mentioned it several times, but Dr. Martin Luther King celebration happened last night. I mentioned Elijah Steele. So Dr. Harris already said it, but he was, so Elijah, we announced his name as, you know, this board, and then he was also an honoree. If you did not see him working with the kids last night, you missed a treat, because I'll say it, there was one student in particular that was very emotional and very scared. And Elijah took that young man in and just was like a big brother, and he just was very comforting soul to that child. And when that child, he's like, "Oh, my mom." And so Elijah just comforted that child, and he went off and found the child's mother and was able to console him. And then when he got the child there, he came back and he got games. So the kids were very nervous about walking on stage. They saw the crowd. So I can't think there was enough to think about Elijah. You know why you wanted to work with that. Even in that moment, like, this is why we're doing this. So thank you so much for that. So yesterday, of course, it's a community event. We had all 70 schools represented, so 70 honorees were represented. I'm going to go down the list quickly to tell you who was involved in last night, because I just want you to know this is such a community event. Our office does work quite a bit to get this on. However, it is such an all hands on deck and FCPS event. So we had 70 award winners. Lincoln Elementary School Choir was there singing. There were 67 elementary age children. I'm laughing because my whole office were just like 6, 7 elementary students on stage at once, but they were cute, they were amazing. And then even in that moment, they had blue shirts on. The stage manager saw they had blue shirts on. She changed the lights to blue. I don't know if you understand, you were there. And all the kids were like, "Oh my God, we match." So even in those little moments, that Lincoln Choir, Windsor Knolls Middle School Jazz Band, they were there performing. They had some solo moments where the kids got up and they played their instruments, and it was, through the jazz club, we got to celebrate the kids as they were there. Individual solos, the Oakdale High School mixed chorus, their national anthem, they were a cappella, they were absolutely amazing. We had a soloist from Frederick High that did Live Where It Was in Spain. That was her first time, not large of a crowd, but she did it amazing. We also had we also had the Frederick High School drum line that kicked the performance off. Our theme for this year was "Everybody Can Be Great Because Everyone Can Serve," and that theme came from MLK's drumline sermon. And so that sermon is called drumline, so we're just kind of playing words there. So we had the Frederick High drumline to kick us off, and it was a celebration. And then we, of course, had the NJROTC presenting our colors. I love seeing those students in front with the, I don't know if you can hear from the audience, but the cadence as they're walking off is always a bit touching to me. And I have to just give a special kudos to the TJ High School stage manager, Ms. Litt, and her entire team. They're just so gracious in helping all of us do. Because we don't know anything about shows and stage managing or anything of that sort, but they work with us. And last but not least, Dr. Camille Bell has worked tirelessly over the last several months, I don't even know, weeks. The snow was not her friend over the last week or two. But she did take the lead in creating a collaboration step team, I would say. So bringing the unity aspect in. So Urbana High School step team joined with the Walkerville step team, and they get individual moments, but then they came together for collective step all together, and they brought the house down. And so it was just an awesome way to end out the celebration. And so again, everyone in the school system had a part in this, and we from the northern part of the county to the southern part, the smallest child. It's hard to not go off sometimes when those kids are walking across the stage, but at the same time, it's always a bucket fill of us. As President Gallagher said, when you're there, it's really a reminder of why we do what we do. And to keep doing what we do. So Dr. Bell, did you want to add anything about the experience?
It is amazing. I started this journey when I was working in the central office in 2022, and Dr. Harris gave me an assignment. But for those who know me know that there's always a twist and a turn. So I said, well, what about a step team? And at first I was looking for a spoken word artist. And I had a young lady who was one of my students when I was working at Frederick Classical. So I reached out to her, and she was like, yes, I still do poetry. And I said, I would want you to be part of MLK. And then she was telling me that her school had a step team, which is Okay. So, I started going over there and working with them 2 days a week for 2 months. And I realized very quickly that these kids were really good. They just needed some guidance, right? So that first year, they did amazing. So last year, when I started working at Walkersville had a little group of kids that call themselves a step club. But they didn't have any performances or anything like that. So I spoke to Dr. Harris again, and he was like, "You want to bring us?" So I said, "No, good check." But when I spoke to the kids, like I'm so close with those children that there was no way I could leave them hanging. So I trucked back over from Walkersville to Urbana to get them together. They were incredible last year. Of course, this year the phone starts ringing again. But this year I said, because I'd started building a team at Walkersville, and there was no way I could just leave them to go with another team because that would just not feel good for them. So I said, I'm gonna try to do something with 2 teams. I don't know how this is gonna work though, because I don't know how to get these kids across town for practice. I don't know how this is gonna work. Everybody knows me. My practices are very intense. So I'm like, look, this ain't happening. So again, I couldn't leave Urbana out, because first of all, Urbana is amazing. So I couldn't leave them out. So I worked with Walkersville, I went Walkersville to Urbana, Walkersville to Urbana. Never put those 2 groups together until the 8th of this month. We had a joint rehearsal. We had 3 days where we missed rehearsal for snow. I was livid because I needed my days back. So interestingly enough, when we put them on stage together, because they both work with me and they both understand me, it was very easy for us to put the joint thing together. And I love it because it's the first time it's ever been done. I love it because it really speaks to the unity and the collaboration of MLK. And when I saw those 31 children at a practice, they broke me down. I couldn't, I'm telling you. And then when we put the shirts and things on them, and we took their pictures, and watching them get to know each other, watching them, trying to decide how we can do this again, I was so very honored. But to see it play out, to see them working with each other, they were 2 separate teams, but they were helping each other, making sure they knew the steps in the dance they learned in 1 rehearsal. And when they hit that stage last night, they were true professionals. And my team had, my home team, which is Walkersville, there were 18 students on that team. Urbana presented 12 last night. So with those 18, 7 of them are freshmen.
Wow, really?
Yeah, they're babies. So I love watching them because they're going to be something else, I'm telling you. But I loved watching them, and they kept saying, "We're scared." I said, "Scared of what?" "What you scared for?" "We're not scared. We don't do scared. Scared, we don't do scared." Right? So the older girls were holding on, and I have one young man on the team, and we tried to highlight him. But the moral of the story is, that is a memory that I will have for the rest of my life. Just knowing and understanding what this program that literally started from me working in the equity office. This is where this all started. And I don't step. But I'll find some stuff, give it to the kids, and they work it out. But I've never stepped. I'm not in a sorority. I've never stepped. I was a dancer, but I never stepped. So I thank Dr. Harris, Dr. Artis, and the office for continuing to trust, you know, well, almost trust, a little kind of trust, you know, the vision. They're really scared of my big vision because my vision is way bigger than I'm allowed. But, you know, at some point before Dr. Harris retires, he's gonna let me loose.
I guess I'm not retiring.
No. So thank you. It was wonderful.
Continue the work, right? So I know there's some tough times, but these are the moments that we continue. Lastly, I just wanted to mention that FCPS has, since October, we have had professional learning with Dr. Daryl Howard. And Dr. Howard is a researcher and educator, and he is a member of Maryland State Department's of Education Task Force on Equity and Excellence for Black Boys. He is also the author of Complex People, Insights at the Intersection of Black Culture and American Social Life. So basically, he led a two-series professional learning session, and from that session, there were a number of administrators, PPWs, teachers. Our equity reps were also invited to come to that to give a new inside perspective and examine how societal bias does impact Black boys in schools. And it also kind of re-envision how we interact with our Black boys in our education system. So that started in October, and that work finished up at the end of December. So we did have that professional learning through a contractor from Dr. Howard. Any questions from me or Dr.?
There's probably on Friday, most schools will be doing a third module of professional learning, really dealing with, we did some training in August relative to hate bias, and then we taught them a process how you address hate bias. And now they're going to continue to reinforce that process and those steps, particularly with our student population, to create a welcoming and affirming environment for our transgender, gender nonconforming students, so they'll apply it to that student group. So that's happening in a lot of our schools this week, happening, and then throughout the rest of the school year.
So the third module, just so you know, it's the administration schools had they could determine which date they were going to cover the module. Some schools elected on Friday, this Friday. Some other schools wanted to do it later at a staff meeting. So if your schools don't do it on Friday, it's fine.
Oh, it's coming.
It's coming.
No, we'll probably do it next month. I think we have the DOJ.
Yeah, so not all schools will have it on Friday. I just want to make that mention. So I don't want anyone getting upset with their principal if they don't do it on Friday. It's okay. They have found some other time possibly other than Friday of a weekend for kids. So that's fine if they don't cover it. We'll do it sometime over the next couple of months. But that is pushed out by our office. Any questions for Dr. Harris-Ride?
Quick subcommittee report. Did the SOCA subcommittee meet?
Yes, we did. We met in December. We had a very productive session. We decided that we got good bones for our document, and it's now time to give it to the actual SOCA community so that they can look at it, they can actually be the authors. We wanted to get them frameworks so that we are starting from nothing. We've been inviting them to the next meeting. They obviously couldn't come out, it's cold and life happens, so we'll try to get another meeting, maybe separate as a subcommittee with the SOCA students so that we can get their feedback, see if they need us to touch it anymore before they hand it, give it back, we can edit it or whatever we need to do. But we're in a spot to bring them in, let them doctor it. We came up with the idea of letting them be the actual publisher. So if you read a document and it says written by, drafted by, we don't know if they want to do it with just the leadership or whatever, but we want it to be a student-created product that can be on their resume. They're doing it, in high school. You guys want to say anything think it was just the idea that it'll have more teeth to it if they're part of creating it. They should. It's just the coordinating becomes the challenge.
Driving the conversations.
What's that? Okay. The Community Forum Subcommittee, we met as well. We have come up with the date and the location has been secured. It is April the 8th from 6 to 8 at Governor Thomas Johnson High School. The theme for the evening is empowerment. We're working on a title now. The format of the evening will be a little different than in the past, but there will be an opening presentation we'd like to see, and we're still fleshing this out, so this isn't anything that's set in stone, but we're looking to have like an opening presentation from staff to talk about the work that we're doing, not to go longer than like 30 minutes. We want to have a resource fair and give people an opportunity to go to different booths and talk to different community organizations. So we have started collecting names of organizations, and we're gonna start contacting them. And then we also wanna have a place where students can have a breakout as well. So they can kind of get together and talk with one another. So they're just not with their parents all night. By the time we meet again, we will have some mock-ups for a flyer. I'm gonna put a student, male stepper actually, on that. No, I'm so serious. When I tell you that the shirts that we wore, he designed, our step team logo, he designed, not this one, we have a new, and yeah, he's amazing. So he's getting put to work. So I do have some organizations, and I'm gonna pull the committee together again, go through those organizations, add to the list to see who may have connections in other places, and then divvy the work out, and then start sending out the flyer, the save the date, and then start attacking how we're going to promote this event to make sure that the event is amazing. So that's where we are right now in terms of the Community Forum Subcommittee.
If someone is not on your committee but has some ideas for organizations, could they email that to you?
Can you ever?
Yeah, please.
I take all,
Yeah, seriously.
yeah, I take all great ideas, especially if they're given to me for free. Okay. And our next meeting is February the 5th, right here. Do we have any questions, comments from the membership at this time, or concerns?
Is there an update on the student member?
Oh, yeah, we did finish that, and we submitted the names. So, and I got an email from Catherine that I have to address today.
Okay.
About,
It does, yeah.
Been confirmed.
yeah, oh, yes, please.
I just have something, when you're done with that, to go back to an earlier question that I don't want to forget to address. When you're done.
I'm finished.
So the question earlier about the Racial Equity Committee, whether there could be just a vote to eliminate the committee, Elijah found in our policy, so we have policy 101, which is organization of the board, which delineates the board committees. So it would actually require a change to that policy, which again would require a majority vote. It would have to go to our policy committee and full board for that vote. Well, it would require a change to our policy, not just simply a vote of the board. Wanted to make sure I circle back to that because Elijah reminded me of that policy.
Any other comments?
Sorry, was that Governor Johnson High School you said?
I'm sorry?
The community forum?
Yes. Yes.
You said April 8th, right?
April the 8th?
Oh. Oh, thanks. Sorry. It's been a long day.
I just had a quick question. It may have been addressed earlier before I was able to come, but you mentioned a link or a code that students or parents could use if they, is that something that has gone out to, you know, the schools to send out to the parents and the families? Like, how is that getting, that information getting out to students and parents to be able to use that?
So initially, one of the first equity module we did as a school system back in August, we addressed hate bias and hate bias reporting. So initially, the schools had their own methods of, they put that link on Schoology, or there were different ways that different schools did that.
Yeah.
Our different teachers may have had a QR code. Some schools had a QR code printed up in the hallway.
Really working well.
So we had it up. I don't remember the exact date, but over the past 6 weeks or so, 8 weeks, that has since been added to our website.
Oh, good.
And now it's easily accessible on our website, under the family and students links. So where you have the bullying form
Yes.
accessible, it's on that same page on our
Oh,
website.
that's good, because I know last year and the year before, as I was trying to help some families find that information, how to get to it, you know, easily, and I like that it's all together now, because I think for some folks it was confusing, well, which one do I use?
So just so you're clear on that, so the hate bias form itself is new for the school year.
Yes, it is.
Right, so if you're looking like in years past, the form did not exist to be there, so part of the challenge was, as you kind of mentioned, but the bullying form does have some restrictions and limitations on what can be reported through that form. So this form is new for this school year.
Okay, because I think on the old bullying form, it wasn't really included, it wasn't spelled out at least, you know, and so I think a lot of folks felt like they couldn't even use that.
There are very particular requirements under COMAR about what can and cannot apply under bullying.
On the main webpage, if you go towards the bottom, there's a radio button there that says stop bullying, harassment, intimidation.
Yes.
You click on that, it leads you right to it.
Yeah, and I, you know, some of it, this is when I was PTA, right? Like, there's a whole
Yes.
different sort of interface, but I'm out in the Linganore High School feeder district, right? And so it was, you know, there's sometimes kids don't want to use the QR code they see in the hallway, right? They don't want to be caught, you know, trying to get a scan of that, or they're different things happening. And then sometimes they're just afraid to tell their parents. So even the parent doesn't even have an option, right, if they don't know about it. But hopefully, you know, more information, making sure that parents and families know that that exists separate from harassment and bullying, you know, that that is a separate form, and that is something that they have access to, and different ways that we can get that information to them, because we need accurate reporting of that. I feel like we're not at all getting accurate. I mean, that's just my perception, and I could be totally off base, but my perception is that we're not getting accurate reporting on that.
Okay, so I have a question. In light of the conversation that we had this evening, we are thinking about putting together a public comment from the Racial Equity Committee for the next board meeting. What do you all think about that?
I think it's a great idea.
Wonderful.
To sort of reiterate what you were saying, that we're here and we're not going anywhere.
So we need to author that. Normally, we author it, send it to the committee for feedback, and then someone would present on our behalf at that meeting. So that's the first thing. Also, just thinking about getting information out. Last year, I did a much better job of pulling things out of the newspaper and sending them to the group. Just, you know, updating folks on kind of what's happening in the community. I have been swamped this year. I've just been swamped this year. So I'm looking for someone to take that over. As you see things as they pertain to racial equity and things that's happening in the school system, then you just take the article, take the link, and then send it to the committee members.
I could do that for you.
Oh, I love you, thank you. Please put that in the notes.
Could we do it like, I don't know, just maybe once a month, send out like a, or do you want it every other week?
So what I used to do is I used to just go in the paper
But I know, and just send it to us.
and just send the link, and I would do it as often as, you know, I could, but this year has been, I have to say, you know, I have to
But
tap
would you
out.
be okay with it if it was only once a week?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, all right.
Would it be possible to make it like a group meet or something, so more people can get involved?
Yeah,
I was gonna say, how do we crowdsource that? And I'm actually just coincidentally supposed to be doing that same thing for the NAACP.
Oh,
Well, then you do
Their
it.
website, for their, like, well, so.
Give me more work.
Social content manager, but not being the one to actually write the post, because I think it should be young black people. I wanna know, how do I partner with SOCA or the local college? I'm working with a student there that once NAACP gets their stuff organized, that I'm gonna be helping, how do we mobilize the youth in the community to be doing that sort of writing, summarizing. So in terms of getting it out to us, like putting together quick links or coming up with a list of, hey, just go follow these people, I do think could be something we group source, like a Discord channel. And I know there's restrictions related to what we can do in terms of official FCPS versus coming up with like, what is allowable, like a Slack channel or something that's for us versus what can SOCA do where we can give them in, because that goes back to what's in the SOP with what are they using and allowed to use, and having us involved in those conversations.
They even do it through Schoology. They have their own Schoology. Just give it out to the advisor. She can put everything in there.
But I don't know that every board member can get into Schoology.
SOCA members could get it. I don't know about the.
Yeah.
And that's
In
what I'm
terms of
saying,
like
that partnership
form we
where
use, I don't know.
say, how do we, or I don't know what the rules, and it might be that we need to follow up with this after, but that's, because crowdsourcing is the way to go. I can organize and content manage, but I can't write all the posts and find all the things. It's too much for any one person.
Yes.
I'm impressed that you were trying to do it. I was like, I said, I'll volunteer to manage this. I'm not trying to do all of it.
Oh, I have two things. I was just thinking out loud for our internal, for my day job, what I do, it's always helpful when we carve out space on a newsletter. FCPS sends out these newsletters, so again, I don't know if the committee should have some kind of real estate in that newsletter where it's just updating, what are we working on, what are we talking about, what is some of the updates, what's happening in the community. So that's one. The other is, who's the author of the statement?
So, that is, I will work on the statement, or ask Artie to. Right?
I'm happy to do it.
And then what happens is, you would send it, and then I would put it in like a Google, or put it in a Google Doc, and send it to the group. And if they have any thoughts, additions, right, things that other suggestions, we would do that. Then we would take the final comment, and then be prepared to deliver it at the board meeting from the Racial Equity Committee.
Is this, I mean, I'm assuming if it's pre-presented to the board, are we looking at 500 words? Are we looking at 1,000 words?
You only have 2 minutes.
2
right?
minutes. 3 minutes.
3
Yeah,
minutes,
because
yeah.
one or the
It's
3
a
minutes.
minute.
3 minutes.
Clock.
But you can also send the full, if you can't, you can do a fuller document, send it as a PDF to our board comments, and then it will be posted to our board docs, but keep it within the 3 minutes. And you'll be able to fully get through the presentation, and you can also send it as an addition so that board members have it in writing.
When I did public comment last year, I did my 2-minute or whatever it was in person, and then I sent the follow-up that had more context, background.
When do you want the draft by?
So the next meeting is the 22nd, if we go there. If not, we would do it on.
The next meeting is the 22nd. Public comment to sign up, if someone's going to speak at public comment, they have can sign up in advance. And that opens up on Friday, I think Thursday at 3.
Yeah.
So tomorrow at 3 o'clock, and then it closes on Monday. There's a certain number of slots that are available. Sign up. So if we want it to be want someone to come and publicly speak, the sooner the better, so we can sign up in advance.
The next available date was what, February 12th?
The next board meeting coming up is the 22nd. The meeting after that is
5th, I think. February 5th.
The second.
Because
Right.
the,
The 12th.
yes, it's the 12th. The 29th is the public hearing.
So
I
we,
mean, it's not feasible. I can't draft it and get community, I can't get like everyone's feedback by tomorrow.
But you
so
can
the
sign,
February
you can
meeting
sign
makes
up
more
and work
sense.
on it.
We can, right, if someone is willing to speak publicly on behalf of the Racial Equity Committee, then we can sign up and have the comments ready for that meeting.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So just sign up in the window tomorrow and then have it for, I mean, it's really up to like how quickly we
If someone
can.
is willing to volunteer now to speak, then we can move that forward.
You can also, I mean, we have meetings every other week, so if you want to give yourself enough time to collect feedback, February 12th might be a good.
that's what I'm thinking.
February 12th.
I think the 22nd is just way too fast.
So when does the comment, is that for the February 12th one?
And February 12th is the Thursday before, so on the February 6th at around 3 is when the window opens to start signing up.
Thursday before a board meeting, around 3 o'clock is when they open it up to go ahead and sign up for comment.
Our next meeting is February the 5th, so we can solidify everything. Then,
Oh, that's a great idea,
the
yeah.
12th.
So I'll share a draft with you initially, and then the second draft can go to.
Yeah,
Okay, I'll do that. So I'll get a draft to you next week.
thank you.
Also, something that will matter is the tone of the room and what agenda, like what's on the agenda, like what items really wants to be heard. So something that should also be considered.
Yeah.
Yeah, so leave it up to yourself to want to negotiate that, you know, a different day. If you look at the agenda and see like, that day, you know. The last meeting, there was one gentleman from a PTA asking about something completely different than the rest of the, nobody,
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying, yeah, so, it's tough.
Any other questions, comments, or concerns? Yes, sir.
I have a quick comment. It's about No Place for Hate. No Place for Hate and CTC partnered together to hold a pep rally in remembrance of Dr. Martin Luther King today. For a quick hour in the FCC gymnasium, where No Place for Hate gave a speech, and then we had a moment of silence for Dr. King, and then we did commence with some light talk. But other than that, it was nice. So.
You have a great group. You guys, the CTC group was really neat.
I did, but I'll tell you all of our notes, they're all just amazing. Like,
All right, at this time, it is 7:05 PM and our meeting is adjourned.